NACL Esports coming at you with our last game of the night. It's Cognitive Gaming taking on To Be Determined. Now, while both of these teams have played today, Cognitive a little bit the worse for wear after a loss for Coast, whereas TBD did find themselves victorious a little bit earlier on. And now coming out onto the Rift for our last game, it's interesting to me to see the double, not necessarily double AP. iDream does run a little bit of scaling AP just for masteries on his Nidalee, but very interesting take on that champion, comboing that with some AP in the bottom lane in the form of Zaineking support Annie, and a Ziggs mid for Zamphira. We'll see how that works out against the Kassadin that has proven to be the bane of Cognitive's existence tonight.
Yeah, Cognitive, they need to be able to keep Arthelon in check. And this time around, they're dealing with a teleport Kassadin as well. So they need to make sure that they're keeping the map de-warded, which is something that they had a hard time doing against a very aggressive Team Coast. So if they're able to keep the map de-warded, or at least during the lane phase, not give up kills to Kassadin and let him roam around, Ziggs is another person. He's a ranged AP damage champion. He has a passive that's going to be adding extra magic damage. Kassadin might be converting that into attack speed, but in the laning phase, it's not going to do all too much for him. So if they're able to abuse the fact that Zamphira will be able to win his lane, it's going to be basically a testament of how hard do they let him win the lane.
All right, now as far as the level 1's concerned, no first bloods like we did see, unfortunately, a little bit earlier on. I think it was WizFusion who picked up first blood off of this very exact same invade path. So there's going to be a couple of wards dropped at the blue buff for Cognitive, and they're actually going to stick around very sneakily over the wall. Now it's ROBERTxLEE, checks the brush. Robert, please.
This is very similar to what Coast did. Coast did almost the exact same thing here.
Same thing, yeah. Now going in, there's the stun right onto BrokenShard and ROBERTxLEE. The flay in there catches out Zaineking, gets exhausted. Will he go down? First blood goes to Robert in the turnaround. Now a cocoon to land onto Ziploc off of BrokenShard's level 2, and it's Ziploc to go down. Cognitive just getting massacred. A double hit from the blue boomerang blade. As nothing here, we'll try to make it out alive. Did force the flash out there. The flash to cocoon does not land. BrokenShard wants to go in, tanks up a turret shot. Boomerang blade misses. Nothing here. Safe and sound, and back to base he goes, but a devastating early game, the level 1 and even level 2 in the case of BrokenShard not going Cognitive's way.
Well, that didn't work. Cognitive, they're definitely going to be feeling the effects of that one. Not only has now Captain Ziploc been denied his early jungle pressure or early jungle presence alone both of these games, but this time he's completely down to buff because of it. This was a invade crafted by Cognitive, and now at the 3-minute mark, when normally a jungler would be clearing their second buff, Ziploc is just getting his first, and he has to sit there and tank it up solo. At the same exact time, we've had BrokenShard already go back, pick up wards, more health potions, and complete a Spirit Stone. Elise is miles ahead of Jarvan, and we could see another issue where BrokenShard could just be everywhere that Ziploc wants to go as soon as he leaves his jungle.
And a couple of other things to notice, because it was a kill and an assist for ROBERTxLEE, he was able to start with double Duran's blades instead of that extra longsword. And while there was a little bit of time spent out of lane, allowing an extra health potion for nothing here is going to be pretty sizably behind Arthelon, though. Forced out very oppressively as Zamphira poke damage down there will force him back to base. The matchup for Ziggs versus Kassadin very heavily in favor of Ziggs early on. We were actually talking about this earlier too, because you get the extra magic damage on hit that Orianna and Lulu both share that really helps work early on against Kassadin, especially with BrokenShard coming in from behind. Zamphira could be a little bit in trouble after teleporting back to lane. Arthelon gets back there a little bit ahead of schedule, so Zamphira may actually lose some minions as they could push into turret.
So a little bit of a telegraph kind of situation there as Arthelon comes immediately back into lane, but that's kind of actually what you would normally want to do. You don't want to lose out on as much farm as possible as Kassadin, and when it's pushed up against your tower, it's going to be one of the safer places to last hit. Now Ziggs will be able to harass you with his bouncing bombs and auto attacks, but if Ziggs is anywhere zoned from the lane, that's free farm for Kassadin, and well, free farm for Kassadin is a very rare thing in the early game.
Exactly, you can actually see almost even and almost ahead for Arthelon of Ziggs. Not really something that should ever happen, but top lane we're going to see Westrice continuing to put the damage down onto iDream. You'll notice that Westrice actually does the same, does a different build rather than Zion Spartan does. Westrice maxes his Q, the Sonic Wave Resonating Strike, for a lot of burst damage, whereas Zion Spartan maxes W just for a huge shield and a lot of sustain in lane.
Yeah, and so we'll have to see if Westrice is going to be a little bit more aggressive because of this build pattern. We see already, look at the damage he's wailing down on iDream, and very interesting that he's going straight for iDream with the Sonic Wave Resonating Strike, and he's just passively pushing the lane through Tempest and Cripples when he jumps on him, and pushing the lane into Nidalee's tower. We talked about it against Complexity. It's one of the ways you keep her down early on and keep her underfarmed. But at this point, though, iDream's doing a really good job of clearing these waves out, though. Westrice is focusing down on harassing Nidalee, and Nidalee's CSing and actually beating out Lucian.
Yeah, so as far as CS is concerned, tied up there. Now it's Captain Ziploc there. Westrice going all over that lane. We'll shove it into turret before going back. Another interesting kind of, I don't know, optimization for Westrice is that instead of running hybrid penetration in both magic and armor pen, he's only running armor pen. Bottom lane, though, nothing here, forced way deep behind his turret. Bubbadub looking for the dive, goes way down there, forced to flash over the wall, but he gets stunned out. There's gonna be one more auto attack, the stun under turret. ROBERTxLEE tries for the kill, not found out there. Zaineking with a perfectly targeted Pyromania stun will keep Nothing Here alive and allow him the first kill of the game.
Well, actually, mid lane, the aggression's not over yet. Arthelon chasing on a Zamphira.
Oh, Arthelon a little bit overextended, gonna have to flash on out of there and Rift Walk away. Cocoon will miss from BrokenShard, will repel away. Zamphira, a little bit too much damage to engage there on his Arthelon's forced back to base.
Now, going back to that bottom lane matchup, yes, Sivir and Thresh are pushing down onto Vayne and Annie early on, but Vayne, she's not an early pusher. She's not an early game champion. She gets into the late game. But the synergy now that Zaineking has a more comfort pick in his Annie acquired, that dive, ROBERTxLEE was at full health, and Nothing Here was at basically nothing health. So Zaineking with the perfectly timed Annie stun, the capability and the synergy between these two players now that they have both champions that they feel extremely comfortable on, well, it's shown through right there, and they pick up a kill in a situation where Vayne should have died.
Now another situation to watch out for is going to be the top lane shoved in iDream. Very, very strong. Has hit level 6. Same thing for Westrice. So a lot of outplay potential on both parts with the wave solidly in that turret. Looking for the roam from Arthelon. Look to Rift Walk over the wall. Not going to head up the top lane. So roam successfully avoided. Zamphira is going to be pretty happy to CS this near to his turret. But at the same time, Kassadin, level 6, not something Ziggs is going to want to deal with.
No, level 6 Kassadin, not only is Ziggs not going to want to deal with it, but the rest of the side of Cognitive is not going to want to deal with it either. Has the potential to move all over the map now.
But there's the all-in coming out. BrokenShard there, very low, and it's actually the bounce away using the satchel charge. Zamphira staying alive for now, needs one more bomb onto Arthelon. Can he find it? Arthelon healing back up. Bomb will not land. Bouncing in there, and Arthelon makes it out alive. But once again, the counter gank countered out there. Ziploc right where he needs to be. Now, Zamphira finds out BrokenShard, helps out Ziploc. We'll push BrokenShard back to Wolves, but a lot of aggression, a lot of focus there around the mid lane. Great job by Captain Ziploc there to counter it out.
Yeah, and well, that's something that Ziploc needs to be able to do. He wasn't able to get the ball rolling in the beginning of last game, and he wasn't able to be there to help his team's lanes when they needed him to be. Now that he did fall behind a little bit early on, but he hasn't consistently been camped. He hasn't given away a kill since that early level 1 invade. He's been a little bit more reserved, and BrokenShard has just been forcing things a little bit more rather than waiting and reacting for them. So Ziploc, he's not looking nearly as bad as he was in the previous matchup.
Right now, iDream is starting to be able to trade pretty well against Westrice up top. Blue buff goes over to Arthelon there in the mid lane, and Zamphira's gonna have to back off and pick up a blue buff of his own. Gonna do that after shoving a wave into turret and heading back to base. Pings on a top lane there for TBD. Could look to send Arthelon up there to clear it out, but Zamphira's putting on a little bit too much pressure, and a really good job doing that, even against the aggressive kill potential from Arthelon. Will keep him from roaming a lot very early on.
All right, now things kind of, it's not necessarily a standstill on the Rift right now, but there isn't an all-out form of aggression. Arthelon is post-level 6 on his Kassadin, but he doesn't necessarily have itemization. Now, he has the tier...
does have positioning, going top lane onto iDream, very, very low, half health now. Westrice looking to get in there, takes a spear, but could it be iDream to go down? Barrier is out there, silenced out by the Null Sphere. There's the knockup, iDream flashing away. Is it going to be enough? Zamphira trying to get on there. iDream, will you stay alive? There's the Primal Surge to keep him alive just for a second longer, but BrokenShard They're spoiling the epic escape. Now it's BrokenShard in a 1v2, gets knocked up. Mega Inferno Bomb. Zamphira finds the kill. Arthelon pieced the scene. He's like, all right, you had your chance. I'm out. Back to the mid lane. A nice kill combo picked up there. iDream lost, but finding a kill on BrokenShard there for Zamphira.
Now Zamphira's picked up a kill, and that's the character or the player on Cognitive that they want to be able to get ahead in his own specific way, because he is a playmaker for their team. Ziploc, right place, right time that time around. And even though they trade 1-for-1, like I said, it goes on a playmaker for the side of Cognitive.
They're in the mid lane, the damage down onto Zamphira, but Arthelon's so low. You can't get that deep onto Ziggs. He's going to punish you way too hard. And if you thought the harass from Ziggs was heavy earlier on, now with the red buff really going to make Arthelon's life a living hell. Blue buff coming as well for doubles onto Zamphira. And for Cognitive, that's exactly where you want your strength to lie. Bottom lane, though, is going to be an exhaust onto Zaineking, of all people, to try to deny the burst damage. Zaineking will grab a kill there onto Bubbadub. There's going to be on the hunt, allowing a lot of move speed for BrokenShard to try to get in here onto nothinghere. There's going to be the Incinerate stun on to him. Nothing trying to trade back some damage onto Robert. But overall, a 1-for-0 in the bottom lane, once again in favor of Cognitive.
And Cognitive are taking small victories across the map, and it's kind of generated a slight couple hundred gold advantage, which, I mean, if you want to break it down right now, there's a slight advantage in the bottom lane. It's only a couple gold, maybe about 100 or so. The top lane matchup kind of culminating the same thing. All across the board, there's incremental advantages going in their favor, save for one matchup, which is, of course, the mid lane. Arthelon, behind early on that Kassadin, he hasn't kind of gotten that one kill he needs to get him that gold, generate an item advantage, and then kickstart his snowball into the later game. He's fallen about 600 gold behind Zamphira because of that kill.
Now top lane, iDream, Westrice. Westrice actually could go in for the kill attempt, but no. iDream backing off for it now, and with watchful eyes on the mid lane, BrokenShard trying to get some action down there, very far forward. Zamphira's gonna get silenced out there, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, still manages to dodge away, and there's the bouncing bomb, hits him on the other side of the wall, but he's just kind of standing still there. Mega Inferno Bomb to try to grab a kill, will find the kill from BrokenShard there on to Zamphira. We'll trade 1-for-1, but another one coming their way as Ziploc gets in there for the kill, and now, fortunately, it's a 1-for-1, but Arthelon staying alive, kills continuing to go the way of BrokenShard, just assists there for Arthelon.
Arthelon picks up another assist there, and Ziggs with a Mega Inferno Bomb. He shoots it where Arthelon was, and the Cataclysm goes down. It traps both BrokenShard and Arthelon, who shifts into it. Had the Mega Inferno Bomb been on top of the Cataclysm, could have been a completely different fight, but still, going 1-for-1 in an overextended situation like that, pretty smooth stuff coming out from Cognitive, but it is a plan from TBD. They want to make sure that Zamphira doesn't run away with that lane, and they need Arthelon to snowball, because guess what? He's going to have to clean up these fights, because we know what Westrice's style is on Lee Sin. We see the TM out in his inventory. He's going to be about the split push.
iDream actually building Bruiser Nidalee up top lane, has 35 ability power just from the Ignite Mastery, or not Ignite Mastery, but from the Sheen in there, along with scaling AP from those masteries, is able to do a lot of damage, not only to Westrice, but to that top lane turret down to about half. The initiation on to Zamphira there in the mid lane. Arthelon gets a little help from his friends there as BrokenShard comes down, gives the kill over to Arthelon this time, so we'll be pretty happy with that. Now Zamphira having a really rough time. You can see that consistent pressure mid finally paying off for TBD.
But the consistent pressure bottom, look at Bubbadub getting evaporated.
One more auto attack on nothinghere is going to tumble away, but the movement speed bonus from that on the hunt, not enough. Captain Ziploc trying to get in there. There's the cocoon. The land catches out Mr. Tibbers, and Arthelon will finally go down. And Zaineking for his third kill of the game. Last auto attack onto Captain Ziploc gets blocked out by the Golden Aegis. Robert tries to trade back away. Mercilessly murders that Tibbers bear, but nothinghere and Zaineking both escape alive for now. Zaineking tanks up the spider. Both of them will return back to base safe and sound. Bottom turret, though, going to face a lot of damage if they do leave. So the dual lane for Cognitive opts to stay down bottom just a little bit longer.
So here's the thing. Normally when Captain Ziploc ganks for a lane, he needs to gank it maybe once or twice, and that's pretty much it. And nothinghere is an AD carry that can take a large advantage, like, or even a small advantage like that, and convert it into something large for the entirety of a game. But going up against ROBERTxLEE, who's a very talented carry himself, he's having a hard time getting that advantage.
Initiation from Arthelon there on to Zamphira. Top lane, the duel between iDream and Westrice splits very evenly, but now it's the damage. Zamphira very low. It's the Rift Walk, giving a little bit of extra mana back and having a lot more damage for Arthelon. pick up the kill onto Zamphira.
But I believe the Dragon winds up going over to Cognitive in that case, so the gold counts are still all but even in this one. Big problem is now that Kassadin, like we said, it's the focus from TBD. They want to get him ahead of Zamphira, and he's now ahead by about 300 gold. He has itemization almost.
Oh, going for the dive. iDream deep underneath that turret finds the kill, gets out with just a sliver of hit points. Westrice not respecting the damage. Sheen proc just way too much for him to tank through, and once again, keep in mind he's maxing the offensive Lee Sin skills there in the Q and E for the Tempest Cripple and Sonic Wave Resonating Strike, but not prioritizing the shield meant that there weren't enough defenses and sustain to keep him in that lane. iDream finds a kill on one of his better champions. You don't really see all that much. Now looking for a lot more tankiness. Double Doran's items and Ruby Crystal as well as that Ninja Tab by very, very tanky against Westrice, who does have his Ravenous Hydra completed. We'll see if that's enough to turn the tides.
I want to see that one of the biggest things in this matchup is that Lee Sin, with the Tiamat now built into Ravenous Hydra, is 20 CS behind the Nidalee just due to the amount of wave clear she gets in that Cougar form. So building for the straight defenses is something that iDream needs to do because he's getting bullied around, and if he gets ganked, he has gone down in the past. He just needs to survive some duels with Westrice long enough to heal himself back up and then just slowly but surely push Westrice out of lane.
Now, a couple of things to notice. TBD actually did get the dragon, so a dragon and a kill doubly in their favor. Another thing is some big item power buys to come out. Seraph's Embrace finally completed for Arthelon. The dive in onto Westrice deep underneath the turret. Once again, red buff applied there onto Westrice, who did actually pick up a red of his own. Will ward jump away from that turret. Turret will fall, and that is the first turret of the game taken down for Cognitive.
Well, let's take a look at where Ziploc's ganks have been. Top lane right there, they forced Westrice to win. Actually, iDream,
Yeah, gonna face a little bit of adversity as Westrice and Arthelon both getting in there for the kill. The repel, rather, will not find Captain Ziploc just yet. And Arthelon unwilling to chase, knowing that Zamphira is right there. Blue buff should be safe for Zamphira for now. Pink ward placed out by Arthelon, returning back to mid.
Well, I wanted to say that Ziploc, he's had one gank in the mid lane that resulted in Zamphira dying, and all the other ganks have net something else in the bottom or top lane. And then iDream had to go get counter ganked right after that and dies. So that statement became a little bit false, but they get the tower in top lane. They've gotten so many kills, most of them on Zaineking, but so many kills in that bottom lane when Ziploc comes to visit. Zamphira, he had the early advantage, but he's been shut down since then with no jungle help.
Oh, and down below, it's Zaineking gonna go down. Huge burst from Arthelon on to nothing here. There's gonna condemn backwards, trying to kite backwards. Captain Ziploc getting into the action. BrokenShard is the one to find the kill onto nothing here, but a 2-for-0 exchange as TBD fires back.
Well, this is what TBD did against Curse Academy. They started moving around the map as units. They started getting these scrappy engagements or these number advantages in fights, and they just decimated them with it.
No, but now Ziploc's actually 1v1ing Arthelon down there. BrokenShard very low at the turret. Gonna have to watch out for that one. Arthelon, he doesn't need any help. Don't throw him any lanterns. He's just gonna rift walk back away to that turret. Second turret of the game there for TBD, taking 2 in a row.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is now TBD firing back against Cognitive. They realized that, hey, we let up a little bit of pressure. Hey, you know, there were some gold advantages. Even though we took that dragon, even though we had a couple kills in these fights, the gold count still looked to be a little bit in their favor. So they shut down Zamphira, and after Zamphira had been shut down, it opened up Arthelon to roam around the map. So between him and BrokenShard as like a 2-man hit squad, they've been able to go. There's been top lane ganks that have been successful, and that bottom lane wound up going down as well. So it's 2 towers compared to 2. Now that Zamphira is taking that mid lane down for his side of the map, but now this is where TBD excel. This is where they go for picks. This is where they go for roams. This is where they try to disrupt what the enemy team is doing. And within the next 5 or 10 minutes, if TBD can win a couple fights, it's going to be Cognitive put in disarray, much like TBD's first game, where they wound up winning.
That's something very important to notice, that TBD, they're coming off of a win, whereas Cognitive, you can really see that they're trying to fight for not necessarily survival, but we're coming up on playoffs, and at the bottom of the standings for NACL, you really got to get that big win streak coming sooner or later, and hopefully sooner here tonight. As Cognitive, they aren't actually very far behind. They just have 3 kills on the Zaineking, who, while strong for an Annie support, is going to have some issues, as the rest of the team aren't really going to be able to provide a lot of damage, as they did miss out on a little bit of that extra gold. The strength, though, something to point out for TBD. BrokenShard, very strong, very weak against face checking. There's gonna be the timbers, the knock up, the engage. There's a perfect lantern coming out from Bubbadub, saves out BrokenShard. Huge engage attempt, very effective there from Zaineking, but not able to find a kill for Cog.
So BrokenShard is down to basically no HP, and the dragon is going to be up in about 25 seconds. So with this pressure down in the bottom side of the map, they could go for a fight or a tower, but nothinghere, he's kind of by himself.
On the hunt, and nothinghere, somewhat easy to go down 1v3. Now it's Captain Ziploc who decides to try his hand at 1v3, dunks down and tries to escape with his Kassadin. The assassin able to take down another kill. iDream in there to pick up the kill onto Westrice, and just one kill after another Mega Inferno Bomb. Not able to take out Arthelon just yet. iDream's there, finds a kill onto Tibbers, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be the best. Death sentence, and BrokenShard from behind, another kill on, this time to iDream, a 1-for-3 exchange. TBD handling that dive absolutely perfectly.
So one thing to point out here is Kassadin and Elise backed off towards their blue buff area. Elise recalled. Kassadin teleported to a ward in the bottom brush behind everybody. So he came in from nowhere, and even though they thought it was a 1v2 situation with Vayne going against the AD carry and support, they would be able to collapse after taking down Lucian. Kassadin just blindsides everybody, and they wind up trading. Well, in that circumstance, it wound up being a 2-for-1 in favor of TBD, and they secure another dragon. So these are the fights that they want to take. This is the way that they roll ahead into the later stages of the game, and if TBD keep it up, it's up to Cognitive to try to find what they need to do. Curse Academy thought the answer was going to be grouping up, but even then, they were getting picked apart and their support was the weak link. So they need to stay together from Cognitive's side, and they need to make sure they don't fall for these pretty elaborate fight situations that TBD winds up devolving into.
And so for now, it's just going to be Zaineking. Oracle's clearing out the bottom lane. Needs to clear out the ward coverage around Dragon, but as it was already taken down, probably not the most significant of things to do. Bottom turret goes down. That's actually the turret advantage for Cognitive. All outer is down for TBD. TBD still have yet to take Zamphira's turret, which is kind of understandable. It's just Ziggs, the wave clear, just really strong. Now, Westrice for TBD is going to get that push onto the top lane and is really going to require a lot of extra pressure. Zamphira trying to get in there, but it's Westrice trying for the kill there, gets the dragon kick, and will get Ziggs a lot closer to Arthelon. Arthelon coming in there, looking in, gets the flash at long range, and uses the Null Spear to take it down, looking for a blue buff off the back of that to add a little bit of insult to injury.
Well, the story of the game last time for Cognitive was early game advantages and snowballing, and that's kind of been a theme throughout the matches tonight, as BrokenShard might look to be caught out here.
Gets dunked on, the death sentence onto Mr. Tibbers, and a life-giving lantern there to from Bubbadub to BrokenShard. This time, BrokenShard's all about taking the lantern, makes it out alive once again, and will stay in there. An attempted engage once again by Zaineking, just not really working out, and that's another Tibbers that is soon going to meet its untimely demise. It's now the push onto the middle lane. TBD looking to take down the last outer turret.
So early game advantages from Cognitive were not capitalized on. Kassadin was kept down for the first 10-15 minutes of the game, but one kill opened the floodgates and they didn't stop the roam. They didn't stop the wards. A teleport kind of screwed over that second dragon fight as well from their side. So not being able to capitalize on what they should have done in the early game is now coming back to bite them. They have two options, though, in the later stages of the game. One's name is Nidalee, and one's name is Vayne. If they can get iDream and nothinghere farmed up, they still have a shot in the later stages of the game, but it's going to be extremely difficult when Kassadin is going to be one of those players that is extremely beefy on the opposite team.
So for right now, Kassadin, like you mentioned, starting to come into his own. There's actually going to be, I don't know, I feel like the next engagement probably centered around that middle turret, but with as much wave clear as Zamphira has been able to put out, I don't know how TBD are really going to get hard to engage that. It's going to be on either Westrice or BrokenShard, but neither one of them very tanky. I guess BrokenShard probably the tankiest member on the team. How to break these turrets is the question, and I think the better option for TBD is instead of just trying to crack the turret, oh my goodness, nothinghere, please, silence out there, the burst to come down, death sentence will miss, but it's just up to Arthelon to play backwards, adding insult to injury. Robert from behind to secure the kill.
No, and that's the thing. That's once again, picks and awkward fight situations are what TBD thrives on, and Mega Inferno Bomb? Okay, the circle's on the ground. Arthelon's just gonna sidestep that one, picks up his little Kassadin skirt, and gets the heck out of there. But these scrappy fights, these little picks, whether it be cocoons or hooks or flays or just Arthelon jumping on somebody as they walk over a ward, absolute control of vision is what TBD really excels at.
Oh my goodness, the chunk damage. Yeah, so that's actually going to hurt a lot. I didn't really see that one coming, and apparently neither did Arthelon or Bubbadub. They are both down around half hit points. Going to have to be careful. Oh, the Dragon Strike steal from Ziploc onto the Big Wraith. A little bit taunting out there to Arthelon. Is going to go deep underneath the turret. ROBERTxLEE comes in from behind on the hunt, picking up a kill. Spear actually does land onto a minion, nothing quite breaking that spell shield just yet, and with the push continuing, that's how TBD are going to crack these turrets. They find a pick, they dive through the turret, have a lot of damage left to dish out. The turret half hit points. Are we going to see the engage? Zaineking has a stun stored up. Mr. Tibbers is available, but unfortunately not going to be used. 2 turrets mid now go down. TBD up to a 2 turret advantage.
Yeah, well, TBD with the turrets in their favor, the global gold piling up against Cognitive. This is the slow but steady stranglehold that they put on Curse Academy in a previous match. So I keep referring to that matchup because it was pretty much comfort picks from TBD, which they still have some of in this game, and the ability to just outplay their opponents after the picks and bans phase. We saw a Singe that was wind up going down from Curse Academy's Rex, and it didn't work out. Now iDream has gone back to a comfort pick in his own Nidalee, but they weren't able to put him in mid lane and give him that AP option. They put him in top lane, he's gone for that Bruiser Nidalee style. Without the scaling resistances on Cougar form anymore, Bruiser Nidalee isn't as good of a duelist as she could be. So even though she can split push and she could be off to the side and be annoying, if Westrice shows up, given his level advantage as well, he's just going to eviscerate her, so she's not a big threat on the map. Whereas the rest of the team from TBD in a 4v4 situation, I mean, they are miles ahead at this point. Once Kassadin started roaming, he's gotten 12 kills, or assisted in 12 kills at least, since after that first kill from that mid lane.
Oh, no, nice long-range lantern there from Bubbadub to help out BrokenShard. These guys are lantern buddies. I don't know. He's definitely helped him out 3 or 4 times from kind of less than silver scrapes, we'll put it that way. Wave clear to come out from ROBERTxLEE, trying to keep the minions off of that middle turret. Very strong push here for Cognitive, but don't really think there's much to come out of it, as with Kassadin recalling, Arthelon's going to have a damaged backup. This time around, it's not the Glass Assassin build that we've seen previously. It's just Seraph's Embrace into Zhonya's Hourglass for a lot of early defensive stats, so we'll have to see if that keeps Arthelon safe enough in these team fights to be a big factor. Now Cognitive with another minion wave at their backs, pushing onto the mid lane once again.
And that Kassadin build has become like the quote-unquote industry standard, although Arthelon did pick up a Doran's shield at the beginning of the game rather than going for a second Doran's ring, but Doran's items don't factor all too much into these later stages of the game, but what it does is it gives Kassadin a slight chance of survivability. It's the same kind of philosophy what Fizz.
There's actually going to be the kill from nothinghere on a Bubbadub, a perfect catch, but now Zaineking in trouble. Nothinghere, though, in the middle of the fight, dishing out so much damage, forces the flash over the wall. Immediate flash from nothinghere will be able to get down onto BrokenShard. Nothinghere just tearing apart my vocal cords as well as TBD. Westrice stays alive with just a little bit of health. Arthelon, could he find out? Westrice gets the Rift Walk in there. It's completely safe, and now Westrice, Arthelon are going to be running away from both nothinghere and Captain Ziploc. Nothinghere just went off that fight. Now 4-3-3. You can tell that Negatron cloak definitely paying off.
Well, that's the thing. Nothinghere on Vayne. We said in the later stages of the game, he has to help. Nidalee has to help. And right now, Vayne is doing her part in these matchups. The problem is here, Arthelon and Westrice dove onto Zamphira. They're still focusing down on Ziggs, thinking that he's the key player in this matchup. Nothinghere was left on the opposite side. He had a tank to go for him, he had a support there all ready to die for him, and he wound up taking down Elise, who's the tank, Sivir, who's the main damage, and Thresh, who is just fodder at this point.
Yeah, Thresh kind of getting thrown right into the, I guess it's the Thresh can now a lot this game. 0-3-10. We've had some rough games from supports tonight, and with a rough game for Dragons now, as TBD will take down another one, or Cognitive rather, Nothing here really trying to stack up as much gold, but when you're doing Dragon, you're probably not doing Baron at the same time, and that's going to be where TBD are, trying to take down this objective somewhat uncontested. Mega Inferno Bomb a little bit late there. Spear will land onto ROBERTxLEE, but now it's on the hunt. Can they catch in on to Zamphira? Does get slowed out there for Zamphira. Somewhat rough to watch that, as I'm sure Zamphira agrees. Flash over the wall from Westrice. Won't be able to find iDream, but now slowed out there by Kassadin. Zaineking has a stun of his own. Tibbers up in 1 second, now available. Cognitive do lose Zamphira, which is, to be honest, a lot of their wave clear. Will need to get him back alive if they hope to defend this top base turret.
It was a bit of a power play coming out from the side of TBD as well. They had some wards in the bottom, and they saw Vayne going towards the bottom side of the map to do Dragon, so they rushed for that Baron, and they know that, hey, Vayne is the big power player from the side of Cognitive now. If she's not with them, we can go for this Baron. Even if 4 of them show up, we should be able to take them in a fight.
Top turret very low, but there's the engage. Double tipper stun on the ROBERTxLEE and BrokenShard. The engage, or the disengage there by Westrice, trying to get away. Nothing here there in the very back. Eats a Sonic Wave there from Westrice. We'll need to be very careful. Cocoon not finding Zaineking, and now with those bobs out from Zamphira, it's going to be actually a disengage from On the Hunt. And a safe and sound escape there for TBD. Take down a base turret, but do not find themselves an inhibitor.
So TBD at this point, this is where they messed up against Curse Academy and almost let them back into the game. They went down and they've wound up fighting underneath the tower. They killed members of Curse Academy, but then they didn't back off and go for the tower. They continued to chase down onto other members of Curse Academy and wound up going even in that trade, and they weren't able to take the tower. This time they learned from their mistakes. They have the Baron buff on themselves. They know that this is going to give them a power spike, or even more of a power spike than they already have, for a decent amount of time still. So they go back, they get locked up through all those ultimates with nobody else dying, they take the tower, they take what they can, and then they just back away. They're playing this one a lot more intelligently, even though it shows that they're playing it with this fervor. They're still going for these picks, they're still going for these plays, and they're not afraid to do so when they're grouped up and they know that they can do it.
I really like the Ziggs pick now, not necessarily as an offensive option, but because it allows Cognitive so many defenses. Now it's actually BrokenShard, walks around the wall, not necessarily a bait, but could go down there, can't even click the lantern in time. Will he be able to grab it? No, the repel off center means that now BrokenShard just dies in the middle of the lane. He walked around the corner, didn't expect to see Cognitive there, and in a little bit of an oops moment, will die. And now it's 4v5 for Cognitive, who are pushing into TBD's base.
Cognitive do have to be a little bit afraid that Robert is split pushing down onto that inhibitor. It's going to wind up going down for free pretty much. They need to make something happen while the enemy AD carry and Westrice are both away.
Tibbers down, stun on to Bubbadub, spear to connect, bombs flying as well. But the first base turret of the game for Cognitive goes down, and now Arthelon, can you find an escape? No stun there from Incineration as Zaineking will back on offense. Arthelon trying to get the kill. Zamphira will flash backwards. Mega Inferno Bomb out there at the same time. Arthelon looking to find the kill on Zaineking. Can't quite take it down.
There's no one defending.
Exactly. Where is the base? It's ROBERTxLEE in the base. The back door from Sivir. You can't leave your base. ROBERTxLEE finishes the game. It's a triple for Arthelon, but it does not matter as ROBERTxLEE with a back door takes out Cognitive at the 33-minute mark, finishing the game in style. TBD with a victory.
They let nothinghere go back to defend, and nothinghere is one of the stronger players on Cognitive at this point in the game. He's a great duelist. He's level 15. We have ROBERTxLEE ending the game at 18. He was level 17 in that duel. Level 3 of his ultimate, max on almost all of his abilities, save for that spell shield, which he doesn't really need in that matchup against Vayne to be max level. Yeah, there's a Blade of the Rune King on Vayne. Yeah, she's going to have some tumble shenanigans, but there's just so much raw damage coming out from Robert that Vayne melts in that engagement. Robert's still above half HP after that one, and that's the problem. They hesitate. They don't know where Westrice is. He's farming wolves and blue buff at this point, and they didn't have any vision on the map to scout him, so they play afraid and they don't push forward 5 against 3. That's TBD and their little scrappy plays, their cheekiness, if you will. Let me borrow a term from my European caster brethren. That's their sneakiness and their cheekiness they have in their gameplay. BrokenShard gets caught out in the middle of a lane, better just backdoor and win the game.
And there you go. Robert X Peke finishes the day off with a nice backdoor to give the win over to be determined. So 2-0 the score for TBD today, and 0-2 unfortunately for Cognitive, who dropped down out of the race for the playoffs. So somewhat unfortunate, but at the same time, congratulations to TBD just winning the game in style. I think we are actually going to head over to a little bit of a replay of this backdoor, since that is it's a feature we're trying to add. So we're going to head over to not necessarily a special replay console, but we are going to have a little bit of a replay of that epic backdoor from ROBERTxLEE.
So as you can see already on the stream, you saw right there that despite the tumbles and despite the just sheer duel power that Vayne has, all ROBERTxLEE had to do was sit there and auto-attack. The increased attack speed on his Ricochet just demolished through Vayne, who had magic resistance, but guess what? There's no sort of physical resistances coming in from that one. Her itemization was just outclassed by what Robert had been accumulating throughout the whole game. She had a Blade of the Rune King and a Phantom Dancer. He had Last Whisper, Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster fully stacked, as well as an additional BF sword and 2 levels on top of Vayne. That was not a duel. That was a massacre right there.
Yeah, and when you're buying the components to like a Banshee's Veil or Spirit Visage there, and that Spectre's Cowl, probably the least helpful item you could buy again in a duel against ROBERTxLEE. So definitely earning the X in the middle of his name there, finishing out the game, an incredible backdoor, and what a way to end off the day. If you guys are new to NACL,